I don't know about you, but I get so excited when I learn a new makeup tip and I test it out and it actually works. So today I thought it would be fun to share with you 10 tips plus a couple bonus ones from pro makeup artists that I have been testing out. Many of them I have never shown you here on my channel, and I just think they're brilliant and they truly have solved a problem that I've struggled with or just have enhanced my makeup that much more. So if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. And now let's go back and I will show you how I applied my makeup using these tips. As we get started, you can tell I have already applied my eyeshadow and eyeliner. There's a whole video coming about that. So we're gonna get to the first tip. And as we do, you can notice I have sunless tan up to here, and then this is my natural color on my face. I do have some redness, but I am much paler on my face. So as we apply foundation, keep that in mind. I'm going to be looking to my neck and décolleté for a match. So this first tip was something I'd never heard before. We want to use 2 different foundation shades on the face. We're going to use the darker tone in the areas where I would normally sculpt and bronze my face. And then we're gonna use the lighter one in the areas where I would like more highlight. And then we're going to just kind of blur those edges together. We're not doing underpainting with these, although that is something that you can definitely do, and I have a whole video about that. But we're just gonna be doing foundation, no underpainting today, and we're using 2 different shades. I'm using the Maybelline 30 Hour Lumi Matte Foundation. I have the shade 118 and 250. So you're gonna see how this comes together. And while it does, I'm going to work in tip number 2, and that is we want to apply our foundation to the palm of our hand first and prime the brush and then apply it to the face. So I like to start personally with the lighter areas of the face. So I am going to put a little bit of the foundation on the palm of my hand. The palm of your hand has more warmth and is going to help kind of warm up and prime our brush faster than the back of your hand. I also feel like I waste less product. Now, if I were to just pump the foundation directly on this brush, look at all those bristles. Do you think it's going to be very even? No. So by doing this, it allows me to press that foundation into the brush. It's also getting warmed up by the warmth of my skin, my hand. And now you can see I don't have a big blob of foundation. I just merely have a kind of blended amount on the brush. And now I can just press it into my skin. And of course, I just keep going back for more. And this technique is going to give you the most natural amount of coverage. And you can always go back in the spots where you need more and add more foundation to that area. But I think so many times we slap on, I am guilty of this, I say we, I slap on that huge old blob of foundation, and we don't need that much. And heavy foundation, especially going into the summer months, it does not wear nearly as well. And so you're gonna see this and say, now, are we getting any coverage? We are. Just hang with me, because I feel like the lighter shade, we're just doing a little brightening. And now I'm going to go in with the deeper shade. And I always tend to buy 2 shades of foundation anyway, because I do sunless tanning and I feel like I'm constantly in need of adjusting my foundation color. And so I would always mix the 2, but by applying them separately and then just gently blending the edges together, we're getting this natural, I'll finish just one side and you can see how natural this side looks. And we haven't even added any bronzer or contour. And the idea behind this is that our skin on our face is never just one color. And so if you go in with just a solid shade of foundation all over, then you do have to go do a lot of work to sculpt and add more color and make everything mesh better together. And with this method, Do you see how like natural? You can't see where the foundation starts or stops. This is also a great trick if you struggle to get the exact right shade of foundation for your skin tone, then it's a way that you can really kind of use those two shades to create your perfect shade. And it's not a harsh, like you're never gonna have that harsh line either, that demarcation where somebody's looking at your face going, whoa, she chose the wrong color of foundation today. So again, I'm using the darker shade in the areas where I would normally bronze and sculpt. And I will still bring in sculpting and bronzing and contouring and blush and all of that, but we are getting a head start by just using those two tones of foundation right away. And then on the nose is a little trickier. You can go in with a smaller brush if you want to, but I have another trick for the nose. So I'm not going to place my foundation all the way up to the corner of my eye. We have another trick coming. And then with what is left on the brush and in my hand, I'm now going to go over those lighter areas and just make sure everything is really kind of softly blended together. Same on the forehead. Now you may say, well, how do I know what to choose? I would say just go one shade lighter and maybe one shade darker than your skin tone. Start there and see if you need more contrast. But do you see? Isn't that crazy? It's just foundation and it's not a harsh contour, but I feel like my skin it looks more naturally covered. Now let's move into the under eye concealer area. This first tip is really just a bonus tip. You've seen me do this so many times, but some of you may have never heard the explanation why. So I'm going in with some almond oil and I just transfer the almond oil into this beautiful little pump jar. So what you want to do is after you have applied your eyeshadow, before concealer, go in with a little almond oil on a Q-tip. And we're going to do two things. Not only are we going to clean up any fallout from the eyeshadow application, but we are going to add a good amount of hydration. Now, this goes against several makeup artists that I follow. They would say, no, you need to go in with the lightest amount of moisture down here. Don't put anything heavy, but that doesn't work for me because I have super dry under eyes. If you don't have super dry under eyes, you may not need something quite as emollient as this, but I'm telling you, this works magic. And the difference between, an oil sounds really scary and really heavy, but almond oil, side note, is actually even in the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish powder. There is almond oil in that. And for one reason, not only does it provide long-lasting hydration, but it sinks into the skin. So when I'm applying this, you can see, even though I removed the excess, it is almost completely sunk into the skin, and yet it is going to provide a long-lasting hydration, which is going to keep your concealer looking better longer. Now, make sure you're not leaving a pool of oil under there. We don't need that, but you want it to look a little bit glowy like that, but there's no excess oil. And now I'm gonna go in just with a little bit of color corrector. Now, I could have used this as a tip to share with you, but I have a whole concealer and color correcting video coming, an updated one. So I'm just going to, for now, apply a little bit of this Colleen Rothschild. This is the Illuminating Tinted Eye Cream. And this is going to give me a little bit of brightness and just a touch of hydration. I don't find this to be super emollient. So even though I have that almond oil, I'm still going in with something a little bit hydrating, and it's not going to affect the wear of my concealer in a bad way. It's actually going to be good. Now that we have a little bit of color correction and brightening, you would think the logical next step would be to go in with concealer. That's what I always do. but I just saw a tip and I have tried it and it actually works. Sounds a little crazy, but we're gonna go in first with blush, then concealer. And now this is something that works if you're using a cream blush. This isn't gonna work if you use powder blush, but after you've powdered your face and all of that. So keep that in mind. We still haven't powdered our skin. So we're working in creams, and next we're going to apply blush and then go over it with concealer. And I'll show you why. So I'm going to use, this is the Dalton Peptide Bounce Blush, and I'm going to incorporate something that we did with the foundation is to also prime the brush. So especially if you have like a pan like this, or if you have a stick, you can go on the back of your hand. But when you have a pan, I mean, you can see how much blush is on there. I, for blush, like to go on the back of my hand first. And this is going to give you an idea of how pigmented, how bright, how much product is on there. So we're going to prime our brush first and then go to our cheeks. And I am going to actually bring this up kind of high. You're gonna think I've lost my mind. I'm not one who goes a little crazy with blush because I have natural rosy cheeks anyway, but hang with me here. You're going to see the genius of this tip. Okay, so we're applying that blush, and again, going to the back of my hand first, and then working it into the skin. And as I am doing this, this is just a Sharalee extra tip. I'm bouncing the brush. I am not swirling the brush. So most of these tips are more advanced, but I always like to give tips if you are just new to makeup in general. So never want to assume that everybody here is a pro at doing their makeup. I'm just going to even this one out. And obviously I have not added any contour or bronzer either, but I will do that after this. Okay, so it looks a little crazy, right? We have this pink going up into the under eye. Now we are going to apply concealer. And as we do, I'm going to incorporate 2 more tips here. For today, I chose to use the Tower 28 concealer. I have 3 shades out here because kind of in between them all, I think I'm going to go in with NoHo, which is my darker of the 3. And what I'm going to do now, this next tip, is we're going to apply it kind of heavier, not, you know, tons and tons, but heavier in our areas where we really need concealing. So for me, it is right here. And I'm sorry, but just a little dot on the inner corner is not enough to cover my dark circles. And if that's true for you too, you can just ignore all of those tips that say, only put it right here. That only works if you don't have darkness elsewhere. Otherwise, it looks a little strange. Okay, and then I'm just going to use a kind of what's left on that doe foot applicator. And I'm going to kind of do a light amount. I'm spreading this out. And then I'm going to kind of just lightly spread out from that kind of larger glop that we put there under the eyes. I'm gonna just spread it a little bit, but we're not blending it yet. So this tip is that you do not immediately blend your concealer out. We're going to let it sit and dry down for a little bit. Now, this is not something you want to do if you're using something like Tarte Shape Tape. This dries so fast that if you don't blend it right away, you're going to get clumps of concealer. But if you're using something like the Tower 28, Natasha Denona, Tarte Creaseless Creamy, something that is hydrating and creamy, by letting it sit down just a little bit, it's not going to dry completely, but just a little bit, it is going to allow the most amount of coverage to just sink in and dry down slightly in those spots. And then we blend away the excess and we are left with the coverage where we really need it. All right, that's set down for just a little bit. I mean, leave it 30 seconds, a minute. You can kind of figure it out for yourself. I think everybody's going to be different. But for me, I don't feel like I need to leave it super long, especially with this concealer. And now I am going to go in with my concealer brush and I am going to lightly blend over the edges. And as I do, I'm going to blend over the edge of that blush. And what this is going to do is now we have this seamless cheek. We don't just have this harsh stripe of blush. It is now blending seamlessly up into the concealer. And the first time I tried this, I have to say I was very doubtful. And then when I did it and I took a step back and looked at how even that blend was, I was like, okay, now I get it. This also is a great tip because it allows you to tone down your blush if you need to. You can easily, just tap lightly over your blush. You can always also bring in your foundation brush. But there is just something about blending the concealer over the blush that makes it look so much more seamless as it goes up into the eye area. Now, bonus tip here, which you'll see again in my dedicated concealer video at some point. If you're somebody who, like me, has troughs, or if you have puffy eyes, this is something that will also work. We're gonna go in with a lighter shade of concealer, and you're not gonna go in the trough. You're gonna go right next to it, and we're just gonna put a dot there. And then I like to also bring one kind of in here towards the inner corner. All right, just a dot. And so then we are going to take our concealer brush and we're going to blend towards the nose. And I'm actually just tapping, just light little taps. And we are creating an illusion. It's a trick. That's what I feel like makeup is in general. We're just creating illusions, right? We're creating shapes and contours where there are none. Do you see how that just flattened this area out? And then when we powder, it's going to help that even more. It's going to help it look even flatter. But by drawing your eye here, it takes away, it distracts from puffiness, the bags under our eyes, the troughs that we have. Isn't that just so cool? This is one of my favorite tips that I've discovered. Now I've moved ahead and applied my contour to the cheekbones, the chin, around the edge of the forehead, the nose. And so typically at this point you'd be ready to powder, right? Before you powder, two things. Number one is you want to use your setting spray now before you powder. And this is something I started doing because I never felt like setting spray at the end of my makeup did much. And in fact, I felt like it disrupted the flawless look that I had on my face. So I started testing out using the setting spray in the middle of my makeup before I apply any powder. And I was astonished at what a better result I had. Now, it's important to note the type of setting spray you use is critical. Do not go in the middle of your makeup routine with something like the L'Oreal 3-second setting spray. This is like hairspray and should only be used at the very, very end, because once it's on, it's going to almost put like a film on your face and you will not be able to add powder or adjust your blush or anything later. So this is definitely one you want to wait till the very end. Same with the One Size On Till Dawn spray. So instead, I'm going to choose this Hard Candy Look on Lock setting spray. This is all day stay, and this is alcohol free. It's affordable. Another one that I have used in this method would be the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish setting spray. So for me, I'm not looking to add extra hydration. If you are, you could then go in with something like the D'Alba, but we're going to set our makeup first without powder. I love the mister on that setting spray. It's so fine. And so now I'm going to let that just sit and dry down on my face. I am going to bring in my fan because I want to speed up the process. Now this next tip is something that whether you use the setting spray first or not, you need to let your foundation air dry for several minutes before going in with powder. That is why typically I like to apply my foundation, go to my eyes, then apply concealer, then go back and finish my face. and let the foundation just sink into the skin and dry down a little bit. If I go in right after applying foundation with powder, that's when you're going to get really cakey, clumpy powder patches. That's when you're going to get a very heavy look. And that's not what we want, especially if you're more of a mature skin girly like I am. So I have been doing this for quite a long time, and I just feel like it is a game changer. And even though I am a combination girl, I do find that letting that foundation just sit down a little bit and do its thing and crease if it's going to, then you can go back with your foundation brush and just tap over any fine lines or forehead creases or anything and tap out the excess. So now I am ready officially to powder my face. I am not going to powder under the eyes yet. I have another tip for there. So for today, I'm going to use the Lunar Beauty. This is the Lunar Versal setting powder, and I have translucent light. And now I'm going to go in with a powder puff. And this is just a bonus tip. Press that powder into the powder puff into your hand, kind of like we primed the brush. We're going to prime our sponge. And then we're going to start at kind of the area a little lower here and work up towards the under eye and press the powder into the skin. Again, pressing it into my hand first. This gets off any excess and just helps you get a more even application. If you've ever put your powder puff to your face and had this clump of powder and then you're trying to blend it, it's not going to end well. So go onto your hand and prep that puff first. And bonus tip, bring your powder through your brows before applying your brow pencil. Get better longevity. It gives the pencil or powder, or pomade, whatever you're using, gives it something to stick to. Now, under the eyes, before you powder, you always hear people go, oh, just see if there's any creases there. And generally, I find myself trying not to make any creases. But if you're somebody who really struggles and you have a lot of creasing under your eyes with your concealer, one of the best things that you can do is, after you've let your concealer sit and you're about ready to powder, smile and crease that concealer. Yes, I said crease it. Okay, you want to smile, because if you're somebody like me who smiles with your eyes, you have a lot of crinkles under there. And if you powder like this and then smile, it pushes up that concealer and it really enhances those creases through the day. So after you've done that, then you can see a little bit of excess. It's pushed up a little excess. You can even, as you're squinting or smiling, you can even tap over it with a dry Q-tip, or you can go in with a clean concealer brush or clean brush and just tap over that. Same thing over here. And so that concealer has almost fully set, but we're just going to remove any excess that was pushed up when we smiled. Okay, now we can go in with our powder, and we're gonna have less product for that powder to sink into and crease throughout the day. I'm gonna use the Dalton. This is the Water Blur Setting Powder. Just love this one. And now as you're powdering, you want to try and remain expressionless. Now that I'm fully powdered, I'm just going to go in and add a little more color to the cheeks with the CoverGirl bronzer. I almost forgot to include this next tip, but it's so genius. All right, you have your favorite cream highlighter stick. This is the Victoria Beckham one, works with the L'Oreal one as well. And before, I would use my finger, tap it on my cheeks, and I just never felt like I got a really good, even blend. So I watched Andrea Olive. She's a makeup artist based out of France, and she showed this tip, and it blew my mind. So we are going to use a cream highlighter and a dry beauty sponge, all right? Not wet, dry. and you're just gonna go brush on the end of the tip of that. And now we're going to press that into the skin. And it works over the top of powder or unpowdered skin. Do you see? We do not have that stripe. It's just pressed beautifully into the skin. Before I learned this tip, I felt like my cream concealer was just never quite what it was supposed to be. I thought, well, cream concealer is okay. I prefer powder. Then I tried this technique and I thought, oh my goodness, now it looks like that glow is just coming from within. And I didn't put anything on top. Isn't that incredible? It's so incredible. And it works anywhere else on the face that you want to apply it. I usually don't do too much crazy work elsewhere, but there you go. Cream highlighter. You'll never go back to using a brush or your finger. All right, now we're gonna move to brows. And I did just brush the powder out of my brows. But for most of you, you know, brows are not my favorite, but they provide a frame to our eyes. And I feel like the brows can make or break my makeup look. No joke. And for a while, I just started feeling like my brows were looking really harsh. I had not changed the color. I had not changed the brow pencil. I mean, I worked through mine thinking, okay, well, maybe it's the brow pencil I'm using. And it wasn't. It was just that I was feeling like I had this harsh stop in the center of my brows, and it was making my overall look seem harsh. So let me share with you a tip that I saw, and I think it was genius, and it's just a kind of a tweak of something you might be doing, but I felt like the tweak made all the difference. So I'm starting off like I normally do and aligning under the brow, providing just a nice kind of line there. This is my usual routine. Then I'm going to fill in about the back 3/4 like I normally do using a light hand. Now you can see I stopped a little bit further back right here. Now, typically the goal with your brows is you want to hold your pencil on the edge of your nose, go up from the tear duct of your eye, and that is where your brows are supposed to stop. So that would be about right here. I'm gonna just put a little dot there. I have a whole video on finding the shape, your proper shape of brows. But typically I would go here and I would try and draw in those hair-like strokes. But what that was doing is making kind of a harsh line of stopping and starting. So instead of putting it in there and then brushing it up like I would normally do, trying to diffuse it and then still ending up with a lot of color here, instead I saw a brow tutorial where they blended, they did the top line, the bottom line, and then did not fill in that center, and instead took your spoolie, and instead of going up or out this way, we're gonna push the brow product that's already in the brows towards the center. And then you can, you know, manipulate and go up just a little bit, but the important thing is we are softening this whole front section of the brows so that there's more of a gradation of color. And then you can go back in if you feel like you need to, you know, darken up the lower line, but don't go all the way in to where kind of that smudged area stops. So we're going to just softly blend those brows. Do you see that? So it gave me this really nice gradation, and it was not very hard to do, just blending in. So the key is make sure you stop early, stop before you get to the point where you normally want your brows to end, and then use your spoolie to brush it towards the center, and then we'll go in with a little brow gel at the end. So once again, I filled in this brow to almost to the corner, not quite to where I want it to end. And now I'm going to just brush towards the center. And then further define the bottom as needed. And then you can just go in with your favorite brow gel. And there we have these really soft brows, which is supposed to make us look younger. One final tip is for you glasses wearers out there. I also am one if I'm not wearing my contacts, and sometimes when I am wearing them, I need my readers. And we all get frustrated with our makeup breaking down right here on our nose where our glasses rest. Well, Rose and Ben showed this technique, and I don't have the exact color of eyeshadow that she used, so I'm going to use the MAC Paint Pot. But what she did is she said using a liquid eyeshadow on the sides of the nose, right in that area where your glasses rest, letting it dry, and then putting your glasses on, that is going to help your makeup stay in place. Because eyeshadow is meant to be on the lid where the skin is kind of rubbing up against it all day long. And so it is meant to dry down and set and stay. It also will leave a nice kind of soft powdery finish. And I thought, that is brilliant. So since I have not yet purchased the skin tone shade of the Mario shadow that's gonna work for me, I did try this the other day with the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot, and I thought it actually worked pretty well. So taking that MAC Paint Pot, and I think the Paint Pot, well, either of these techniques you can do over or under your makeup. I do think the liquid shadow would work better kind of before you've applied any foundation, but the Paint Pot, just like I do around the edge of the lips, which I didn't share any lip tips or mascara tips because I have 2 dedicated videos just for those. So I will link those down below. But just like you do around the edge of the lips, putting this MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot on after you've powdered and letting it sit, and then adding just a little bit of powder on top of it. And it is going to remain in that area all day long. So again, I just took what was left on my powder puff and went over that. And now when you wipe your hands over it, it has that kind of slippery, powdery feel, and it's not at all tacky. So now when we put on our glasses, I have this pair that is literally hanging on by the thread. It's broken here, but I still love these glasses. So now when I put these on and they sit right here, it's not going to wear off the makeup on the bridge of your nose. So if that has been a struggle, a pain point for you, give that a try. So there you have it, my top pro makeup tips that for me really have been game changers, and I hope that they are for you as well. Let me know in the comments down below which was the most surprising tip, and let me know if you give any of these a try and how they work for you. As always, I will list and link the products that I used in today's video. I will also link the correlating eyeshadow tutorial when that goes up, because it's a mix of a review of a very viral palette, and I do have some thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye.